Hi guys, in this video we're going to be looking at how do we solve when we have 0 and negative exponents. So our first example is going to be looking at just 0 exponents. So here we have 5 to the 4th divided by 5 to the 4th, and that equals 1. So this is something that we know already. Anything divided by itself would always equal 1. So this is actually trying to explain the rule, which is that any number raised to the 0 power will always equal 1. How do we know that? Well, we know that anything divided by itself gives you 1. If I was to write this out, it'd be 5 times 5 times 5, times 5, on the bottom same, and these would cancel to become 1. If I apply my exponent rules for division, I would be subtracting. Well, 4 minus 4 is 5 to the 0. So based on this, we can assume that 5 to the 0 power equals 1. So that's the formula that we need to know. Okay, let's take a look down here. So here is our rule written. Anything, because anything over itself gives you 1, and applying the division properties, we subtract, which is a to the 0, anything to the 0 power is 1. You need to have that formula, or that property, memorized. Now, in this case, 1/3 to the 0 would be 1. Anything, 3 to the 0 would be 1. 5 to the 0 would be 1. 0.5 to the 0 would be 1. Anything to the 0 will always give you 1. So now let's go ahead and look at negative exponents. Negative exponents is basically where you have exponent could be the numerator or the denominator, and it's negative. And we can't have negative exponents in math. We don't allow to have negative exponents. So here, let's go ahead and try this based on how we did division property of exponents. We write it on top, write it on the bottom, we cross them off. So we're left with 6 squared on the bottom. Okay, let's try the subtraction rule. So if I do 3 minus 5, I'm left with negative 2. I can't have it like this because a negative 2 is not acceptable as an exponent. So to be able to simplify this, what this is you have 6 to the negative 2 over 1. And to simplify that, to get this to become a positive exponent, I flip it to the other side. So this would actually be 1 over 6 squared, which I can actually solve for. 6 squared is 36, so this would be 1 over 36. And that's my answer. Let's go ahead and take a look at the next example. So basically the formula that we need to know is that anything raised to the negative exponent means put me on the opposite side. If it's on the bottom and the denominator, it will go to the numerator. If it's in the numerator, it will go down to the denominator. So here we go. P to the negative 3, that would be down here, p to the 3rd power. Negative 2 to the negative 3, this would be negative 2 to the 3rd power. And I can actually solve this in my calculator. Negative 2 cubed is negative 8. So my final answer would be negative 1/8. Okay, let's take a look at this problem. Now we're going to apply everything that we know. Simplify this expression. 5x to negative 2, y to the 4th. We only have one variable that we only have one variable that, so we have two variables, but none of them have something else that we can combine it with. So in this case, it's just x, and it's just y. So x is the only one that has a negative exponent, so that means I can't keep it up here. It has to go down to the denominator. So what's that going to look like? That's going to be 5. So remember that this is 1 over x squared, so I can bring it to the denominator. So it's right here. I think this is kind of confusing, so just don't mind this. I'm going to write it over here. So what's happening? We have 5x to negative 2y to the 4th over 1. Technically, it's not written here, but any whole number is always over 1. We can't keep this guy on the top because it has a negative exponent, so I'm going to bring it down to the bottom. So that's going to be 5y to the 4th over x squared. And then I ask myself, can I do anything with these? No, because they don't have the same base. I can't subtract the exponents. I can't do any of that. So then that would be my final answer, 5y to the 4th over x squared. Let's look at example B. Okay, we have 6 b to the fourth over 2a to the negative 6. Okay, we know we have this negative 6 exponent. We can't keep it there. That means we have to move it up. I also have something that can simplify. 6 over 2. I can simplify that. I know what 6 divided by 2 is. So 6 divided by 2 is 3. The a has to go to the top, a to the 6, and b is going to stay on the top. Why? Because it's not negative. It's staying where it is. The only one that changed is the one that had the negative exponent. So this became 3. This moved to the top, so there's nothing in the denominator anymore. So my final answer is 3a to the 6th, b to the 4th.